This is part 2 of the story, so if you haven't watched part 1, here's the link. Go watch it and come back. As for the people who were here last week, here's a quick recap, because if you're anything like me and struggle to remember your own name, you probably don't remember the contents of some video. So, as a kid, I loved art, and I decided to take art class in high school to further my skills, but the art teacher refused to teach my class the same curriculum as the other classes because it was a period set aside for kids who were in the special ed program. But then some kids from AE came back and was put into the class, leaving him not being able to work on his own art projects and actually teach us like he does his other classes. This made him really upset, and so he took his anger out on us kids by failing us. And I cut off the video where I ultimately relented to my counselor, and this led her to fix my grade. Okay, so you should be all caught up now. When I saw that my grade had jumped from a 20 to a 97, I was over the moon, thinking that this whole fiasco was finally over. Little did I know, it was a false happily ever after. A couple days after the whole bad grade incident happened, he handed us a syllabus. You know, the same syllabus that everybody else received on the first day of school? Yeah, that syllabus. He told us that we needed to learn each concept in the syllabus and would give us 1 week per concept to study and draft up a piece, and then turn in that piece into a portfolio, and that portfolio would serve as our entire grade. We could add more drawings to the portfolio, but a minimum of 1 per week was required. He still never taught us anything. In fact, he would leave the classroom most days for the entire class period, leaving the aides who worked for the special ed program to supervise all the kids. So I had found myself in a class that I had worked so hard to get into for 2 years straight, just so that I could learn skills and concepts from a teacher rather than being completely self-taught. Only to be completely self-taught in this class. It really irritated me that he would spend so much time teaching the other classes and would be super hands-on with them. It was hard to find a kid who didn't like his class. And so it was like he really did just have a personal vendetta against our class. So it comes time to where I was supposed to make a piece that covered the concept of foreshortening, and I decided to draw a plane where the wing was coming towards the viewer, ultimately deciding not to go with an anatomical sketch because he had reprimanded one of the boys in the class for only drawing gesture drawings and nothing else. So I drew my little plane and turned it in. The next day he pulls me out of class, and I was certain I was going to be lectured about something since our class was given a speech more or less every day on something we did wrong. Only I have no idea what I did wrong. But when we stepped out of the class, he told me that he was actually really impressed with my drawing on foreshortening. He went on about how he used to be a pilot and was in the Air Force. So he greatly appreciated my drawing and even asked if he could hang it up in the classroom. When I tell you I was dumbfounded, I had heard kids in the other art classes talk about how awesome he was, but I was doubting whether or not he was actually capable of being nice. So I sat there thinking, is this actually a skinwalker in front of me and I was about to be devoured? Because honestly, the latter seemed more plausible. I was desperate to make a good grade in this class, and I had already accepted that I would never be a part of a project that I enjoyed, so I took this newfound information and ran with it. Every drawing I turned in from then on out was to do with war. I would draw soldiers, landscapes of important battle sites, planes, tanks, you named it, and you better bet I got a 100 for that 9 weeks. He actually started to treat me nicely, and even allowed our class to do some projects that he was letting the other classes do. The most notable and infamous being making an abstract diorama that represented our passions. All was well until we turned in our little dioramas. Middle school me would have made my diorama about art, but because this class had me so burnt out, I chose to make mine over marching band, and so the theme was music. And if you're wondering, yes, the girl who sat next to me did make her diorama themed around horses. And it was honestly amazing. Like, she did little 3D, origami horses. absolutely beautiful. Anyways, the AE boys decided to pull a little prank and make their diorama themed around pugs. Specifically, Snoop Dogg really loves this breed. The art teacher was irate, and for once, rightfully so. He turned into the school and they even threatened the kid with suspension. And since this kid was hard-headed and rebellious, he decided that he was going to press the teacher's buttons and bring this pug to school and pet it in class. Needless to say, the kid got in huge trouble and I never saw him again. Like, even in other classes, never to be seen again. And the art teacher was even more upset at this than he was at the beginning of the year. He made us sit through a lecture that carried on for 2 days. He went on about how our class was damned from the start and that we were all in third period for a reason. We were all either a bunch of delinquents who were messing up our lives and accepting the devil rather than God, or our words who were too dumb and can't even go to the bathroom without their precious aids. Again, my words, not his. So, he took a rather long, vacation after that. I believe one of the aides ended up reporting him, and I mean, good on her, I'm glad she did. But he thought that one of the students had reported him, so he went back to treating us unfairly. So one day, out of the blue, he tells us that, we're leaving right now to go on a field trip. Mind you, he never asked for permission from our parents, but he took us to his art studio. He showed us around and talked about his past and present projects. He's known for working on these giant, 20 by 20 relief sculptures, and these sculptures are all made out of scrap metal from these demolition projects from around our area. I may have disliked the guy, but these sculptures were honestly gorgeous and had so much meaning to them. In the middle of the tour, he randomly stops and tells us that this is what success looks like. He explains that his reason for bringing us out here was to show us what success looks like, because according to him, we would never know what success looked like if we didn't straighten up our act. This was to serve as our wake-up call so that we can get our lives back on track. He went one by one through each student, telling us one thing that we could improve on so that we could possibly see success in our life. When he gets to me, he says that I'm a wannabe artist who will never make it past what you are now, and to not give up art as a hobby but never try to pursue it as a career. I'd be better off working as someone in retail or fast food. And by him telling me this now meant it would save me heartbreak later down the road. And you know what? Screw him. I wish I could take every drawing I ever did as a freelance artist and shove it right in his face. And that not only is he dead, but he was also dead wrong. Okay, that's enough dark humor for today. All jokes aside, this crushed me. Whatever little passion I had left for art at this point, he took it, threw it right out the window. Oh my gosh, it hit hard. From then on out, it took everything in me just to draw enough to complete my assignments. Luckily, there was this boy who moved school and was put into the art class because it was the only elective left with open seats. And might I just add, God bless this precious little boy's heart. He ended up also sitting next to me, and we spent most of the class just talking. He told me that he was really impressed with my art, and so I opened up to him about how I'm not really confident in it after what the teacher said to me. I contribute him to part of the reason I was even able to come back to art at all after what he said, because he told me that who cares what he thinks? He'll probably croak over before you even finish school, so just do what you want. And even if you don't prove him wrong, who cares? He won't even be here to say I told you so. And on top of that, it's just 3 words. I told you so. Wait, 4 words. So if anything, just use his words as motivation. He was a really sweet guy and was able to make my 3rd period fun again. And it was really nice to have not 1 but 2 good friends in that class where we could mutually support each other. And he moves back to his old school in less than a month and things went back to being a shit show. So comes the last unit before the final. And it was over digital art. No, I had already had a computer and a drawing tablet, so I was super excited, thinking I would get a good grade since I already knew the ropes to digital drawing. But you know the rules, nothing is ever as simple as that. His idea of digital art: to upload that picture and then trace over said picture with your mouse. The grade was solely based off how close you could get the traced image to the original picture. First off, I want to make this clear, I do not condone cheating whatsoever. It's bad. You should have a level of academic integrity. That being said, in situations like this, I understand how it can be a necessary evil. I was already burnt out and had been so for months, and so since I had no motivation to do this nuanced task, I decided to look for a way to work smarter, not harder. I took the picture that I was using for the project, uploaded it into PixArt, and then put that painting filter over it. I then took the edited picture and uploaded it into Microsoft Paint. And of course, he was super impressed with it. And I ended up getting an A. Now that the last unit was over, it was time to prepare for the final exam. He had set aside the last month to work on 3 pieces for the final exam, being 1 drawing, 1 painting, and 1 sculpture. The only stipulation was that they had to be a part of the same theme, but you could pick whatever theme it was. As I've already said, I had been burnt out for weeks at this point, but I somehow found the motivation to get the best score possible. I decided to make the theme self-love and mental health. And I really think the reason I decided to choose this theme was because of all the stress that this art class had put me through. The drawing was a charcoal piece of a person humped over with a void for a heart. The sculpture was that same person, but with a shiny heart where the void in the drawing was. And the painting was... honestly, I can't remember what the painting was. So I had my 3 little pieces done and even wrote a little report explaining how the pieces tied in not only to the theme, but to each other. I did as every burnout honors student did and just bullcrap most of the essay, but all in all, I was really proud of the work and was feeling super confident. The big day comes in to turn in our final project, and instead of asking us to come up and explain our pieces one by one, he simply hands us a piece of paper. I was confused because, like I said, we were supposed to be going up and presenting our works one by one. So why is there a piece of paper in my hand? And I'll tell you why I was holding that piece of paper. It was because this morning he had went through the McDonald's drive-thru and ordered an apple pie. And when he pulled out the box, he had an epiphany that he wasn't going to let our final exam be these 3 pieces that we had been working on for the last month. Our final exam was going to be drawing this pie box. I literally went to the bathroom and cried. So you're telling me that this last month, where I had pushed myself so hard through this extreme burnout to not only the point of my mental health suffering, but also my physical health suffering, all for nothing? Just to draw a pie box? I still can't smell those damned apple pies without getting sick. Because I hate them that much. I loathe them. McDonald's pies have been ruined for me. After I walked out of that room that day, something changed in me, and I hated art. I hated everything that it stood for. I hated the fact that I spent so long on a passion that I hated so vividly. Couldn't even bring myself to pick up a pencil until my senior year. But as I said in the previous video, all in all, I'm glad that I got back into art, and I'm honestly sad that I was pushed to a breaking point. A breaking point that made me hate the very thing that I loved so dearly. All I can say is, I'm glad that that boy was there to be my cheerleader when I needed it the most. And if you're going through something similar, hopefully I can be that cheerleader, if not someone else, because it's a terrible feeling having your biggest source of happiness become your biggest source of pain. Anyways, that's the end of the story. That's all I have, so if you want, you should go down in the comments and tell me about your favorite art class, or your least favorite art class that you've ever taken. I don't know. Just tell me a random story. I don't care. I like reading them. But on your way down there, you should also subscribe. Before you go, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate your guys' support. After all, you guys are the biggest reason as to why I'm so happy I picked up drawing again. That's all I have for you today, and I'll see you guys next week. And before I forget, I want to give a special shout out to my patron, Rattled the Second.